Prepare to experience the strongest radio allowable by law. Secrets will be revealed. Myths dispelled. From the studio gym where excuses never apply, it's Superhuman Radio with your host, Carl Lenore.
I'm adjusting my green screen here. Welcome back to Superhuman Radio. Actually, it looks like the show is going to go today. Many of you survived through lots of technical problems in the past couple of weeks, the worst of which was yesterday when Facebook went down completely. And when Facebook went down, StreamYard, the platform we use, is so highly integrated with Facebook that their software didn't work. And we had a great show planned yesterday, which will be rescheduled. Joel Green is coming on to talk about why fasting may be making you fat and insulin resistant. A lot of people who use fasting and they say it's wonderful, and there's others who say it sucks. And we think we've discovered why there's a difference. And we'll talk about that when he's back on. And we will answer that question today. I know last week you asked a question about Crealkaline. We'll get to it today, I promise you. So stay. I'm glad you're here. So before we start the Blueprint Power Hour, I have to thank our title sponsor, and that's Legendary Foods. If you take the time to listen to the commercial breaks, we'll send you a free box of Tasty Pastries. Tasty Pastries started out as a Pop-Tart. There's so much more. They taste delicious. You're not being fooled into eating something good. You'll eat them because they taste great. They also happen to be good for you, less than 1 gram of sugar, up to 20 grams of high-quality protein. Go to the website, shrnetwork.biz/legendary, and use the code SHR SHR10 to save 10% off. But if you take the time to listen during the commercial break, there's a secret word planted in every commercial break. You just have to email that secret word to onair@superhumanradio.net. Include your mailing address, and Legendary Foods will send you a care package. So here I thought we were just giving away Tasty Pastries. Just look at some of this stuff. This is Lucy and Izzy unboxing the free Tasty Pastries everyone has been enjoying. Breakfast has been healthier, easier, and kids think they're suddenly getting the same junk that their friends do. Thank you. Look at this. Here's a picture of what this person got. Not only did they get a box of Tasty Pastries, but they got seasoned almonds and flavored nut butters. Thanks again. Can't believe how much stuff is in this box, and everything is very tasty. You can get one of those boxes too. Who doesn't like free? Just send an email to onair@superhumanradio.net. Include the secret word that you hear during the commercial break and your mailing address. If you don't put your mailing address in, I'm not going to email you and ask you for it. I'm sorry. Because if you're hearing this message and you're hearing all of the directions, you just need to follow them. And you'll you'll love it. You'll love what you get because Ron Penna is so generous. He's sending boxes of stuff to people. No one can believe it. So there you go. You know what? I don't have. Oh yeah, I do. I was going to say I don't have Rob's music, but yes, I do. Hold on a second. Let me just bring Rob on real quick.
Calling all Blueprint Army. Fall in line. It's time for the Blueprint Power Hour with Coach Rob Regish on the Superhuman Radio Network.
Rob and I really thought that there were powers out there that didn't want our show to air, but now we found out it's just a bunch of technical difficulty problems, including the crash of Facebook yesterday, which, by the way, brought their market value down by $5 billion.
Oof.
I can't say I'm sad. I'm sorry.
I don't own any Facebook stock, at least not directly.
It's not even Facebook stock. It's the idea that Facebook has had such control over. Look at us. How many videos have been removed because we said something about the vaccine or COVID? You know, it's like, and it's funny because this whistleblower that just came out, you know, Facebook likes to be like they're a saint in all this. Oh, we're trying to keep all that negative stuff out. Meanwhile, they're only promoting negative stuff because division brings eyes, and eyes sell ads.
True. Very true.
I hope they get what they deserve. I really, really do. There you go. Anyway, how are you doing, Rob?
I'm doing well. It is 58 degrees here in the great Northeast. And you know what? If you're going to be here at any time of year, this is the time, right? The fall foliage. It's pretty much in full swing. I'll be seeing more of it a little later this week when I visit Maine. So I'm looking forward to that.
We just lost one of our Facebook channels, just for an FYI. If you were just watching the show on Facebook and the video is frozen, it's Facebook. It's not us. Because we go out on 1, 2, 3, 4 different Facebook channels, one LinkedIn and one YouTube. YouTube is the most reliable, by the way. I would love to just have everybody watch the show on YouTube. Really. They're the most
LinkedIn too, though. I didn't know about LinkedIn.
The only problem with LinkedIn is that they can't comment.
Oh.
We can't see that. They can see the show and listen to the show, but they can't comment. So we did lose. We lost a couple of viewers. I'm sure it's on that bad channel.
Cool.
Yeah, the end of the summer is here, and you're going camping.
Yeah, for a few days at least up in Maine. Little different than the New Hampshire trip, which was more woodsy. This will be a little more beach-like. So, but you know, you got to practice in all environments, right?
Yeah. Who knows? We may all have to go live in the woods for a while. We don't know. We don't know what's coming.
Yeah.
FJB.
Be prepared to bug out.
Yeah, there you go. Anything important that we need to discuss before we get to questions? And please post your questions. Those of you who are watching live, feel free to post your questions. Even if you can't stay to listen to the answer, you can always come back and watch the video later.
Yeah, nothing to pimp this week. I did want to just say thank you to everyone that did take advantage of the Synthogen 10-year anniversary special. I've got, every time we have one of these sales, I get the emails, especially from people that have used it for the first time, and they're great to read. Someday I'll share more of them, but suffice it to say, they have all been very highly impressed with the product.
You know, I don't know that we're on Spotify. I know we pay for a Spotify. So Spotify and Instagram are hard for me to go live on because you have to get the key right before the show starts, and and I don't have a staff. I mean, I have Natalie, but Natalie's doing 1,000 things at one time. If I had a production staff, I could probably be on Spotify, and it's probably a good place. And maybe next year we'll be able to do that. Who knows? Let's see what happens. Let's go ahead and get to the first question. The first question comes from Chuck Gill. Sorry, I had a belch and I had to hit the button. Love the show and want to support Rob however I can. I've used Synthogen for years and love it. Does what it says and have 2 bottles of Progenidrex on the way too. I don't hear much about Tranquilligen though. Should I be using it?
Yeah, he's right. I don't talk about it nearly as much. It doesn't get the fanfare, so to speak, of the other two products, which is really a shame because I've always said that if you want to be using one product, let's say before you get blood work done, Tranquiligen, or as we call it, TQ, is it. It is a pretty, if I do say so myself, it's a clever combination of curcumin, rhodiola, ashwagandha, 5-HTP, and astaxanthin, along with a little bit of bioperin for absorption. First, let's talk about the feelable effects because, the other two, people can take them and they certainly notice something 9 times out of 10. That is true with TQ2. And anyone that's used a good rhodiola knows that you can usually feel that. Rhodiola is, it's an interesting compound. It gives most users energy. But unlike caffeine or ephedrine or other harsh stimulants in high dosages, it's not a dirty, stimulant type thing. It's actually, it feels very clean. In a smaller subset of folks, though, it's actually calming. And the trick with rhodiola really is figuring out how it affects you and then using it accordingly. So if you get an energy burst from it, I'd say start it around noon. Get you through that mid-afternoon slump, and it works really well there. If it calms you down, take it after work. It does do that. It does that in me, although admittedly, that seems to be a smaller number versus the people that get the energy. Now, more timely, there is an emerging body of evidence surrounding rhodiola's ability to boost immune function. So there was a paper that was published in July 2020, International Journal of Scientific and Engineering Research, which compared its antiviral activity with remdesivir. Now, you can take that for what it's worth, but it's there if you want to go read it. Moving along to the curcumin, another paper that was published just this year entitled Curcumin as a Potential Treatment for Aggressive Viral Infections, found numerous mechanisms of action that were found to benefit people as an adjunct in antiviral therapy, including antiviral activity itself, anti-inflammatory, anticoagulant, antiplatelet, cytoprotective, and certainly its antioxidant properties. Curcumin is also what's known as a zinc ionophore, which simply means it helps zinc get on the inside of a cell, which is really important because that's where you want it to coat the virus, in some cases prevent viral replication. In other cases, there's speculation that it will actively destroy a virus depending upon which one, how invasive it is, et cetera, et cetera. The real dark horse, though, in my opinion, in the formula is astaxanthin. And man, is it racking up an impressive body of literature. It too, it turns out, is being looked at as an adjunct therapy for advanced aggressive viral infections. And in a study that was published late last year, potential of natural astaxanthin in alleviating the risk of cytokine storm, it was found to be helpful in managing that hyperinflammatory, hyperoxidative phase, of the current pandemic's, let's call it second stage of that disease. Now, I emphasize the word natural when I said natural astaxanthin, given the fact that there are both natural and synthetic forms out there. TQ has always used the natural stuff. It's always what's been shown in the research to work and work better than the synthetic stuff. We use a pretty whopper dose in Tranquiligen, which is just shy of 4 times more than what you'll typically find in most standalone products. So, if you go to Walmart, you'll find a 4 milligram astaxanthin. It may or may not be the natural type. I'm not sure, but I know it's 4 milligrams. We're at least 15. Some batches spec out 16, 17, but we're at least 15. The ashwagandha in the formula, there too, much like the other ingredients, there are studies supporting the fact that it is quite effective in the prevention of severe viral infections. In fact, there's a paper out there entitled Ashwagandha, under its Latin name, Withania somnifera. Ashwagandha as a safer option to hydroxychloroquine in the prophylaxis of severe viral infection. And this is what it said in its conclusion. I was startled when I read this. We report that ashwagandha was not found inferior to hydroxychloroquine, and its efficacy was within the 15% non-inferiority margin. As an immunomodulator, it has other clinical benefits, including reduced mental stress. And so there you will often see ashwagandha seen as a stress buster. And it does seem to take the edge off for most people that use it. So the question is, do you want to be using this stuff, especially now? I can't answer that for you. For me, absolutely. I absolutely use it. Huge believer in it. I do not think, however, that you need to take it every day, especially given the potency of the product. I favor either an every other day protocol or Monday through Friday with weekends off. That has served me very well. I think it'll serve anybody well that uses it. And suffice it to say, there are lots of benefits to Tranquilligen, and they don't end right with the immunostimulatory stuff that I just covered. So
here's a great follow-up question. Very timely, because you're talking about it. On YouTube, Cola Quench asks, any opinion on the different extract ratios, 3% Rosavins or 3% Salidroside, or 5% Rosavins and 3% Salidroside, or on the exact species such as Rhodiola rosea versus Sacra? Am I saying that right?
Crenulata. By and large, you want Rhodiola rosea, standardized for a percentage of both Rosavins and Salrosides. What that exact ideal percentage is, I'll be honest, I don't think they know. I think we use a 3 and a 5% respectively, and you can find anything from 1 to 3 to 3 to 5. We use a very, very potent strain of the stuff. As an example, my wife, if she takes 1 tab, she's fine. She gets a nice energy boost off of it. 2 tabs, and she's like, whoa, that was way too much. It was way, way too much. I had to have her sit here and calm down, and then we went for a walk. So it's a very, very useful nutraceutical, but you need to know how your body responds to it. So I would say Rhodiola rosea, standardized for Rosavins and Salrosides, anywhere from 1 to 5%.
So I don't know, a lot of people may not know this, but the way they standardize these products, and this is true of even ginger, it's not like they have a crop that has 5% gingerol, for instance, right? I've always talked about ginger extract and buy something that's standardized for at least 5% gingerol. There's 10% gingerol and 15% gingerol. It's not like these crops naturally occur with these ratios. These are man-made ratios. And what they do is they take a plant and they soak it in ethanol, pure grain alcohol. And all of the components of that plant escape into the ethanol. Then they take a fiber, cellulose of some sort. It could be from the original plants. It could be from some other source. And they take a spray gun, like we spray car bodies. And they spray this alcohol batch onto the cellulose and let it dry. So if they spray it once, maybe that's 1%. If they spray it again, it's 2%. If they spray it again, it's 3%. So these are artificially created ratios. What I would be more interested in knowing is, what are the ratios in the plant naturally occurring? That would be interesting to me.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. I just got a bag of ginger extract, 5% gingerols in yesterday. And I was going to talk about that a little later, but I think you covered it perfectly.
No. But let's talk about it more. But my point is this: when we buy products that are standardized, it's not like they grow it that way. Okay, they make it that way by artificially concentrating the components that are rendered in ethanol onto a fiber where the ethanol dries and leaves the components behind on this blank slate, if you will, this blank canvas. And so, I mean, you can buy, if you wanted to pay for it, you could probably buy rhodiola that's 50% rosifins. They may just have to spray it and let it dry 50 times or 10 times or whatever it is. And so we fall in love with standardization because, like the pharmaceutical model, we say this is the thing that's the magic. Screw everything else. Just standardize it for this. But then you don't know if it's out of the ratios that naturally occur with the other components. And those are the other components I've learned over the almost 16 years of doing this show turn out to be equally important later on. We go, oh, well, we didn't know that was actually helping facilitate that.
Yeah. I can only tell you, I mean, my philosophy on that has always been you take as much as possible the natural fingerprint of the plant and the chemical constituents therein. And from there, if you want to try to make that a two times extract, 5 times, 10 times.
Everything.
Right, everything. And a perfect example of that is several years ago, there was a company, Biotest. They had a product called Tribex. It was a great full spectrum extract of tribulus. And then they got the idea that, no, it's just the protodiazine that's working the magic. And they started standardizing for higher and higher levels. Well, something really curious happened. People kept writing in, this stuff doesn't work like it used to. Go back to the original formula. So, in tribulus, there's protodiazine, there's protogralicin, there are tribulosapponins A and B. There are all these other things that I don't think you want to necessarily, for lack of a better word, strain out of it because they have benefits.
And if you're saying, well, Carl, you said they spray the ethanol on. Yes, they do. But it's not like as though when you standardize for this one component, you get exactly the ratio that occurred in the plant of all the other components.
Right.
And they're only paying attention to one. So they don't really care what happens with the other ones. You could have too much, you could have too little. So, if they test it for everything, if they said, okay, these 16 things are full spectrum of this plant, so we need to measure all 16 of them and make sure they stay in these exact ratios as we target one more than the other, then it would be a different story. But they don't do that. They don't.
Yeah.
All right, let's go. Cola Quench said, interesting. Never knew that about extract methods. Yeah, when I got high on, and I say high on ginger extract, I've helped people cure cancer with ginger extract. I am not patting myself on the back. Okay. The
right
research
here.
is out there. Well, Jen, right? I found out because I actually made contacts in India to get the best quality ginger extract that I could. Ginger is a highly sprayed crop, so I needed organic ginger extract because my brother-in-law had cancer, John. And it was very expensive, and it was standardized for 10% gingerols, which meant that they had to spray more and wait longer for it to dry and spray more. You're just paying for the labor at that point in time of them applying it to the fiber. And that's how I found out about this. Let's see here. Dean Paulson, any personal experience with Boswellia as an anti-inflammatory for pain recovery? You want to answer that real quick since we're talking about herbs right now?
Yeah, Boswellia serrata is a fantastic anti-inflammatory. You want to look for the Apreflex, APRESFLEX branded version for the simple reason that it contains the proper amount of boswellic acids. Boswellia is different than, let's say, glucosamine or chondroitin, which may take weeks or months. You should know, easily within 2 weeks whether or not you got a good Boswellia. It's a great anti-inflammatory. It's often overlooked. We usually talk about curcumin or cesus or ginger, but Boswellia is fantastic, and that's the brand I would get.
So Dean says it looks like the pharmaceutical industry is trying to patent a lot of the active compounds, which is what they do. And he says frankincense is the other name. Frankincense is it really frankincense? Because we used to burn frankincense in church when I was an altar boy.
Indian frankincense is usually what's equated to Boswellia serrata. Whether or not Indian frankincense is different than others, I don't know.
Okay. Let's go on to the next. I love it. Thank you all for participating with your questions. It just makes the show so much better for everybody. Thank you.
Yeah.
Phil Barry says, I don't use supplements, but I'm thinking of starting. If I only have $50 to spend every month, what should I buy?
Well, the
buy a
honest
bottle
answer,
of testosterone.
right.
$50 easily.
The honest answer is it depends. Depends on your age, your goals, the type of training that you're doing, even how you sleep. And so here's what I mean by all that.
I love this. I love where you're going. I can see it already.
This is how I approach the matter. The question you need to answer is, where are your capacity blocks? So if you picture a pipeline, right? A capacity block is a point in the pipeline where it narrows. So the pipeline's maximum capacity or flow rate is always going to be limited, right, by that capacity block. If you remove it, things start flowing again at a maximal rate. So let's just assume, for the sake of discussion, gaining muscle is the goal. The most common capacity block, in my opinion, is not eating enough. So believe it or not, a calorically dense, quote unquote, weight gainer may be exactly what's needed. I know Redcon makes one, I think you mentioned.
Great problem.
Yeah. Or you make your own from Whole Foods, like milk, bananas, yogurt, peaches, wheat germ, honey, even ice cream if you're an extreme ectomorph. So you formulate this shake, 1,000 calories a pop, and you drink that in addition to the food that you're eating or between meals, and then keep doing that until such time as you're gaining about a pound a week, and keep tabs on the waistline. Now that's muscle gain. Other people may be eating enough, they may be training well, but they don't sleep well. In fact, most people I speak with, regardless of age, tell me they don't sleep well, or they brag, I only sleep 2 or 3 hours a night. Jeez, that's nothing to brag about. For those people, 3 to 5 grams of GABA and maybe 10 or 15 milligrams melatonin, or even better, Delta 8 is an absolute miracle worker, because you show me someone who was getting 3 to 4 hours of sleep, but now gets a solid 7 or 8, I will show you someone who looks, feels, and performs better every single time. Usually a lot better, right? And so that's a big deal. Now, I've also met people on extreme diets with things like magnesium deficiencies. In fact, even for people that aren't on diets, in Western cultures, the United States, it's estimated that up to 75 to 80% of people may be deficient in magnesium. You give those people, magnesium citrate or picolinate or glycinate, ZMA, or any reasonably bioavailable form of magnesium, and boom, they sleep better, they're stronger in the gym, their muscle cramps at night are gone, and their stress levels come down. It's incredible. Protein deficiencies, on the other hand, are rare, but adequate doesn't mean optimal. And so if you take someone who's trying to gain muscle and they're eating 100 grams of protein a day, and you get them up to 200, 250 in some cases, if they're eating enough calories, wham, they start gaining like nobody's business. So that's another type of capacity block. And then finally, I have yet to meet anyone with a creatine deficiency. But again, normal isn't optimal. And we know from hundreds of studies now and decades of anecdotal evidence that, you get optimal levels of creatine, you perform better. You can lift more. You put more muscle on. It is the single most reliable supplement seen in studies insofar as putting muscle on, adding strength, et cetera, et cetera. And don't forget about this. There are other things that creatine does that you can't see or feel, like lowering homocysteine levels, which if you're somebody that's my age, or even not, if you got a family history, that's huge. That's if you don't gain a speck of muscle from creatine and you get the homocysteine lowering effect, you won. You may have added years to your life. Who knows? So that's how to go about determining what supplements you might benefit from as a result of analyzing and identifying those capacity blocks. You address those methodically with the appropriate supplement, and your results should improve accordingly. And yeah, you could probably do it for less than $50 a month.
And you know what the funny thing is? If you ask a guru this question, they'll tell you their 6 favorite supplements you should buy without understanding where your capacity blocks are and addressing those.
Yeah.
This is critical thinking at its best right here, what Coach Rob is talking about. Why would you take a supplement that isn't going to remove something that's keeping you from recovering better and from building more muscle if your goal is to build muscle? And everybody's different. Everybody's requirements are different. Everybody's issues are different. It's brilliant. This is critical thinking at its best, and I love it. I have so much respect for this guy for this reason.
Thank you.
We're going to take a quick commercial break. When we come back, we got questions loading up. We'll get to all of them. Aiden Ray has a good question about ipamorelin and CJC 1295. And then Coach has more questions from people who mailed in. We're going to take one quick commercial break. Stay tuned. You're watching, contributing to, and listening to Superhuman Radio. We'll be right back. If there is one mineral you should be worried about not getting enough of, it's magnesium. Magnesium is the body's master mineral, powering over 300 critical reactions, including detoxification, fat metabolism, energy, and even digestion is influenced by the presence of magnesium. That's why I'm so excited to tell you about a new magnesium product I've been taking now called Magnesium Breakthrough. It's the ultimate magnesium supplement, easily the best I've ever seen or experienced. With all 7 forms of magnesium, I was able to arrange an amazing deal for my audience, and I guarantee it's the best deal available on this product. Seriously, with volume discounts combined with our custom 10% coupon code SHR10, you can save up to 40% off select packages of Magnesium Breakthrough. And I promise that this deal is only available on this specific website, magbreakthrough.com/SHR. You won't find that deal on Amazon or even on the company's own website. Go to magbreakthrough.com/SHR and use code SHR10 to save up to 40% off select packages of Magnesium Breakthrough. Remember those rectangular toaster pastries you used to love when you were a kid? Well, Legendary Foods has just made them better. The new cake-style tasty pastry is like nothing you've ever had before. With 20 grams of high-quality protein and less than 1 gram of sugar, you'll feel like you're cheating, but you're not. Go to shrnetwork.biz/legendary and use the code SHR10 to save 10% off your purchase of tasty pastries. Now available in cookies and cream, red velvet cake, birthday cake, blueberry, strawberry, brown sugar cinnamon, and hot fudge sundae. Go to shrnetwork.biz/legendary and use code SHR10 today. Adrenaline. Redcon One's new BAR bar is the ultimate soft-baked protein-packed snack bar, powered by peanut butter. Perfect for while on the go to help curb hunger or sneaky sweet tooth cravings. With 20 grams of protein, use as a meal replacement bar or when you're in need of a high-protein snack. Eat a Redcon One bar as a midday snack or for fuel before an intense training session. Go to shrnetwork.biz/Redcon1 and use the code SHR25 and save 25% off these delicious bars today. Being superhuman means being conscientious about the choices we make. White Oak Pastures is superhuman when it comes to raising livestock. They're committed to animal welfare, land regeneration, and rural revival. They responsibly manage the entire process from the pasture to your doorstep. High-quality, pasture-raised, great-tasting meat from a farm you can trust. Full nose-to-tail selections. They even have options for your pet. Go to shrnetwork.biz/white oak and use the code SUPERHUMAN to save 10% off your entire first order. Hey, this is Carl Lenore. Superhuman Radio is the longest-running health, fitness, and anti-aging podcast in the world, going into our 16th year of continuous production. If you have a product that you think would appeal to the Superhuman Nation, we can get you on the air quickly and inexpensively to help promote your brand. Join the ranks of some of the largest and most successful companies in the world who know how great it is to be affiliated with Superhuman Radio. Contact Dan Kapitsky today. That's DAN.KOPITZKE at superhumanradio.net to learn more. Knoll Creek Hemp Company's Delta 8 soft chews are the premier Delta 8 product on the market today. Knoll Creek's Delta 8 is produced from high-quality hemp-derived CBD oil, and soft chews are manufactured using proprietary nano-emulsification technique that ensures the Delta 8 soft chew will timely deliver the desired effects cleanly and consistently from piece to piece. In a space where at least 70% of the products fail to meet label claims and where most users of conventional hemp products are left disappointed, Knoll Creek's Delta 8 soft chews are a product you can trust. Visit shrnetwork.biz/Delta8. That's DELTA and the number 8, and use the code SHR20 to get 20% off your first order today.
Spit that out right now. This is the Superhuman Channel.
Hey, welcome back. We got lots of questions. This is good. I love when we get lots of questions because it makes the show so much richer. A question from you may be something else 30 other people are thinking of, and you're helping them get the answer. So let's see. The next question comes from Kevin Wholey. He says, I've heard you talk about using a main lift as a driver for the rest of your program. That was me, I think, that talked about it. Or was that you? I don't remember. But what do I do if I'm just doing calisthenics? That's got to be you. There are no squats, deadlifts, or bench presses to use. Or do you not need one with body weight training? What do you think?
This is a great
question.
Coach,
you had your mic closed. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
It's a great question. It's a very shrewd observation because clearly there are differences between weight training and body weight training. The stock recommendation I usually give with weights is what he's saying. Use one of those lifts, bench, squat, deadlift, or something similar, big barbell lift, as your driver. That's what I call your driver. And then from there, perform your supplemental and accessory work, smaller movements, right? Less weight, that sort of thing. But with calisthenics, the game changes, so to speak. I still believe you need a driver, but with no, let's say, barbell lifts, the question is, how do you do that? Personally, I have taken to starting with a lift, with at least one lift that's a hybrid between calisthenics and a weighted movement. So I'm talking about things now like heavy weighted dips, heavy weighted chin-ups, or one-legged squats with a weight vest. Those will really set the tone for the rest of your workout and provide what I feel is needed to drive greater increases in size and strength. I think if there's one mistake most body weight practitioners make, and it's an easy one, if you're a quote-unquote purist, it's chasing higher and higher volume insofar as higher and higher reps at the expense of doing heavier low rep sets, which are going to build that very crisp central nervous system. And not unlike putting the donut on the end of a bat, you know, when you take that donut off, you can swing a lot faster and harder. Same principle here, right? And, you know, it's also, like I've always said, you show me the kid who benches 200 for 10, maybe 15 reps. Now put him under 300 pounds, ask him to do a single. Most of the time, he gets squashed like a bug. The kid, however, who can do a 1 rep max with 300 pounds, he's almost always going to be able to do 10 or more reps with 200. It's really that simple. The difference, of course, is when you avoid heavy weights, whatever's heavy for you, and I'm calling that something in a 1 to 3 rep range, let's say, your central nervous system loses the ability to perform that lift. And specifically, it can't perform it because it cannot recruit the same amount and degree of muscle tissue simultaneously like it can when you are using a heavy weighted movement. So, you've got the rest of your workout to get your volume in. That's the way I look at it. Even just 1 to 2 heavy sets early on is going to pay big dividends, in my opinion. And it's going to take little out of you for however much volume you have planned to do in the rest of the workout. Now, this isn't to say you can't add weight later in the workout either. I like to end my leg workouts by doing 150, 200 body weight squats with a 20 to 60 pound vest, depends. And to me anyway, that's high volume, especially after everything else that I've done. But it's not so much that it forces you into a lower rep range. Far from it. You're way up here. So in conclusion, I would tell you that I still believe in using driver movements with body weight, and mostly in the form and fashion that I just described, compared to just adding more volume and more reps. It's far superior. And I think you're getting the best of both worlds that way too.
So now we'll get a question from the audience. This one comes from Aiden Ray. For some reason, Facebook's not letting us see his name. He says, what are your thoughts on CJC 1295 and ipamorelin, dosing and cycle?
To be totally honest, it's been a long time, but I would think those two are complementary, if for no other reason than, if I'm not mistaken,
you need a ghrelin agonist to shut off somatostatin.
Yeah,
and you need a growth hormone releasing hormone to pulse some growth hormone.
Right, and doesn't BPC 157 increase growth hormone receptor site something to that effect?
It does. But
right,
but with these two here, the dosing is very, very critical. If you take a dose, okay, first of all, you should not be using CJC 1295 with DAC. You should be using the short acting, which is really supposed to be called growth hormone releasing hormone, modified GHRH 1 through 29. But people like to call it CJC 1295 without DAC, so whatever floats your boat. But you should not get hungry. If your dose makes you spontaneously hungry 10 to 15 minutes later, you're using way too much. I use 100 micrograms of each. I don't use ipamorelin. I use GHRP6, which is a naturally occurring form of ghrelin. So I use CJC 1295, the short acting one, at 100 micrograms, and I use GHRP6 at 100 micrograms. And you can take that 20 minutes before a meal. It'll elicit a really good spike of growth hormone. It will also improve digestive motility, which will move food faster so you can eat sooner again. But I don't take so much that I'm famished. Like back in the day, I used to take 1/4 milligram of GHRP6 and stand with the refrigerator open, eating everything in sight. That's way too much. And actually, the show we were going to do yesterday would have explained why that will make you fat. But you're going to have to wait. So, ghrelin agonists like ipamorelin, GHRP2, GHRP6, they have to be used in their lowest effective dose. If you're getting hungry, there's spillover. You use too much. But Rob is right. You got to use them together. If you use CJC 1295 short acting by itself, the amplitude of the pulse would be this. But once you add a ghrelin agonist in, that same dose will give you a pulse like this. Why? Because there's a gas pedal and brake relationship in the pituitary. If ghrelin is present, it suppresses the production of somatostatin. Anytime something ends in statin, it means stopping it from being produced, right? Choleostatin stops cholesterol. So when you use a ghrelin agonist, the brake comes off. And then when you use a growth hormone releasing peptide like CJC 1295, the gas pedal goes on. So obviously, you're going to go a lot faster if you're driving and you're not holding your foot on the brake at the same time. So you got to use. Yeah. Go ahead.
One question that may help some folks: when you used lower doses, far lower doses of GHRPs, did you get the weight gain, the water weight gain?
No. And that's another sign that you're using too much. If you start to swell up, you start to get water weight gain. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, only use 100 micrograms of each now, and I don't get hungry. I don't get water weight gain, and I use it sparingly. Some people use it before every meal. I don't think that's necessary. I think if you use it once or twice a day, you're better than nothing.
And that's a great thing to know if you're an athlete practicing calisthenics, right, versus weight training. If, on the other hand, weight training, your powerlifting's your game, then 10 pounds from peptides, it's only going to help, in my opinion.
Yeah, and we will get to the rest of these questions at the top of the next break. I promise you. But we have a question here from Gabriel Shaw, and it's a very long question. Do you know of any way to reverse an allergy to whey protein? Excuse me. I only use Thrive. However, I discovered that my chronic knee pain vanishes when I stop whey protein. And I remembered the SHR show from years ago where Mike Mahler said many people have overused whey protein and developed allergies to it. I stopped it for 2 years and then restarted it in small amounts once per week, but the problem seems to return. And you've actually had an allergic reaction to whey protein in your life.
Yeah, I took a food allergy test, which I highly recommend, and it revealed that I was severely allergic to one food, whey, right? Whey protein. And so it's true, it can cause excessive immune and inflammatory response in some people. I'm one of them. What happens is if I use a cheap whey protein, my nose gets stuffed up to the point where I can't breathe through it at all, which is kind of scary. I mean, if you're laying down at night and you're trying to fall asleep, yeah, your body will, you'll breathe through your mouth, but still, that's a scary proposition to me, and I don't care for it. Others, like the OP here, find that whey's inflammatory effect manifests in some part of the body, in this case, I think his knee, as joint pain. And so we get to the issue of what can be done. I would tell you that, at least as far as I'm aware, you don't reverse an allergy to XYZ product, in this case, whey, as much as you manage it or can manage it. Personally, and I thought this was really weird. If I use a very high quality whey, like Thrive, of which whey is part of it, I don't get stuffed up. Mm-hmm. But the cheap stuff, I absolutely do. The whole issue brings to mind a comment I remember that Charles Poliquin made once in his book, The Poliquin Principles. He said that to overcome his whey allergy, he would rotate brands, most of which are out of business. I can't recall exactly which brands he rotated. One of them was ProScore. I know that. I looked them up. It doesn't look like they're even in business anymore. What I would tell you to do then is to experiment with various whey proteins, including concentrates versus isolates. Because if it's lactose that's causing the issue, then you'll probably do better with an isolate, as in most cases, it contains less lactose than a concentrate. You may ultimately have to find a non-dairy alternative, which is the bad news. The good news is it's not nearly as hard today as it used to be. There are rice, pea, beef proteins that are hypoallergenic, and nowadays they're fortified with the amino acids that they are low in to make it a very complementary and complete protein. It's never going to have the same biological value as a dairy protein, but it's certainly, it's better than nothing.
But egg white protein is another one that people can look to, but some people are allergic to eggs, and it's because of what we feed chickens, just for the record. But egg protein is actually better than whey, and if you can get by with egg protein, I would do that.
Yeah, whole egg is dynamite. I don't know if they still sell it, but man, it's yeah, I think they do, as a matter of fact.
Mm-hmm.
If there's a product put out by the same people that make the Iron Mind, I think it's called Just Protein. Something. Look it up. I'm pretty sure it's whole egg.
And I think Dante Trudell has a great website where they actually let you make your own blends. And he's got what's the name of their company? Why can't I think of it? It used to be
Protein Customizer.
Something I forget what it was, but you can go there and you could probably make your own protein powder with egg and some other isolate that's not dairy, and come out with something very, very good for you. Plant proteins are higher in toxins like glyphosate, absolutely. However, the only plant protein I can get behind is pea protein, because it does have a complete amino acid profile. Not as good as dairy or egg, but good. And you can find organic pea protein out there. So,
So the proteins, most of which the plant-based ones that we discussed, they're not as efficient as the dairy protein. So, okay, you have to use more. But they're 100 times better than soy. Right?
Yeah, and they're 100 times better than using a protein powder that you're allergic to already.
Exactly.
Because your immune system is what helps you recover from workout to workout. Don't mistake the immune system's role in building muscle. Joel Green has focused on this for the past year and a half. Nobody was talking about it before Joel. Now people are coming out and going, the immune system. And yeah, of course it's the immune system. Anything that has an inflammatory component in it, we're talking about the immune system. We know that when you work out, you get inflammation. That's your immune system saying, hey, we got broken shit over here we got to fix.
Yeah.
So protein synthesis is a result of your immune system. If your immune system is jacked, that might be your blockage. Would you call it the blockage?
It's I don't know what the right word to use is. But look, the point is this. There's nobody saying that you have to use whey, right? I mean, think about this logically. Guys built plenty of muscle before whey protein hit the market, right? Arnold Schwarzenegger did not have whey, at least in the way that we know it now. So if you have to drop it, you have to drop it. But especially in this case, if your knee is hyperinflamed as a result of taking whey in, then you have compromised your leg training, which in turn compromises the rest of your muscle growth. So it's a no-brainer to me. If you have to drop whey, you'll survive. Trust me. And if it means you can train your legs hard, do it.
And the name of Dante Trudell's website, it used to be trueprotein.com, and now it's True Nutrition because they've expanded. You can make your own protein blends there. You can even choose flavors and sweeteners and vitamins. You could make your own personalized protein blend there for the price that you buy it at the store, sometimes cheaper, because they just take what you want and put it in a jug and send it to you. They mix it, blend it, and send it to you. We're going to take a quick commercial break. We'll be right back. We got lots more questions to answer. Stick around. You are watching and listening to and contributing to Superhuman Radio. Stay with us. Have you been struggling to achieve results in the gym? Trouble sleeping through the night? Overwhelmed with stress or anxiety? Look no further than Infiniwell supplements. They have designed products to address specific needs like muscle growth, hormone balance, sleep, and anxiety from the first use. Infiniwell helps you live well. Go to shrnetwork.biz/bewell. That's BEWELL, and use code SHR20 and start living well today. I want to introduce you to Tau Patch, a heavily researched patented wearable device that provides immediate and long-lasting health benefits. Tau Patch's nanocrystals convert your body heat into light of specific therapeutic frequencies that optimize your central nervous system. The health benefits of Tau Patch include relief from chronic pain, better sleep, increased focus, reduced stress, improved athletic performance, and more. Discover what it can do for you by visiting shrnetwork.biz/Tau Patch. That's TAOPATCH. Use code SHR for your superhuman discount today. I need to share with you all a revolutionary new wearable technology called HapB. HapB allows you to enjoy the effects of caffeine, alcohol, nicotine, melatonin, and muscle relaxants without actually ingesting anything. Yes, really. They figured out the unique magnetic signature of each of these molecules and recorded them. Just put the HapB on, choose the signal you want, and it starts projecting the magnetic signature of that molecule that you choose, like coffee for feeling alert. Go to hapbee.com/SHR. That's HAPBEE.com/SHR to learn more and unlock an $80 discount exclusively for the Superhuman Radio listeners.
New Mass Pro Synthogen X2 just upped its own legendary game. To distance itself even further from the rest of the pack, Synthogen X2 now has double the key active ingredients. If you've ever wondered what steroid-like recovery feels like, Synthogen X2 delivers. See why others compare it favorably to powerful bodybuilding drugs at synthogen.com. Mass Pro Synthogen. When you train with it, you'll gain with it.
Adrenaline. Is there something interfering with your happiness or ability to achieve your goals? BetterHelp can help. They will assess your needs and match you with a licensed therapist. This is not a self-help or crisis line. It's professional counseling done securely online. They have a broad range of experts and are available worldwide without having to wait in an uncomfortable waiting room. Get the help you need and start living a happier life today. Go to shrnetwork.biz/betterhelp. That's better, HELP, and receive 10% off your first month of counseling when you use the code SHR.
This is the Superhuman Channel, where we use oxygen for the power of good.
Welcome back. Let's see where I'm going to go next. I think that was the last mail-in question, so let's go ahead and go through the questions that are posted here on Facebook and YouTube and others. Let's see. This one comes from Horned Frog 77. He said, last week I wanted to get your thoughts on Crealkaline. What do you think about Crealkaline, Coach, as a creatine product?
I like it. I like it especially because it doesn't put water weight on me. Now, the debate, of course, has always been, is it better than creatine monohydrate? Well, first off,
it is creatine monohydrate. I know, right? It just has a buffer in it. That's all.
Yeah. And so honestly, the way I look at it is what I would call more efficient. So at 1/10 of the dosage, I get the same strength bump without the concomitant 5 to almost 10 pound weight increase. And believe me, that shows up fast. Like I put 10 pounds on in 9 days. And unfortunately, a lot of it goes to my face. My wife says, God, you have the biggest moon face. What are you doing? I said, well, I just started creatine. And mind you, and this was creatine monohydrate. I wasn't loading with 20 or 30 grams a day like some guys do. I was simply taking anywhere between 5 and 10 grams, and that was it. So it certainly affects different people differently. I would tell you, if you're looking for a more efficient creatine, look into Crealkaline, especially if you're a body weight athlete. I don't know if I agree. I think one of their premises is that it results in less metabolic waste. To me, that makes sense because on the one hand, it's a lot less, right? It's 1/10 the dose of what you normally use. Whether or not that's because it converts less to creatinine, I'm not sure. I can't make heads or tails out of those studies. I've looked at them multiple times, and I just kind of throw my hands up and say, well,
it doesn't really matter.
Right, it doesn't. So, That's
But
my.
so if you want a cheap man's crealkaline, take 2.5 to 5 grams of creatine with a eighth of a teaspoon of baking soda
baking soda,
at the
right?
same time. Just take the 2 powders, throw them in your mouth, drink them down. You'll burp a few times, but the crealkaline is a pH corrected, which basically is a nice way of saying we're going to raise the pH of your stomach by suppressing acid, because the acid is what destroys the creatine before it's absorbed. And you can really achieve the same thing by taking a low dose of creatine, 2.5 to 5 grams. But most people don't need that. I mean, there's a lot of good research out there that shows if you just take 5 grams of creatine a day, one time, that you end up with the same muscle creatine accumulation, but it just takes about a month instead of trying to load in 5 days.
Yeah.
And so the loading was just, it was because when you stepped on the scale every day from day to day, you're like, oh my God, I'm 1.5 pounds. Oh my God, I'm 2 pounds up. I'm 3 pounds up. I'm 4 pounds up. Like, oh man. And a lot of it does go is muscle weight, but when it spills over, it gets under the skin and it's sub-Q.
Yeah.
But you don't have to take that much creatine to have to get the same effects, and just be patient and wait a month. And if you want a pH corrected, get yourself a box of Arm & Hammer. Don't use the one your wife has had in the refrigerator for the past 3 months, because it'll taste like the refrigerator. I mean, it tastes disgusting. Just get yourself a box of baking soda. Take 1/8 of a teaspoon along with the scoop of creatine, and throw it down. If you want to mix it in with water and drink it down, just drink it down fast before the sodium bicarbonate starts to react to the water, and you'll know it's working because you'll burp. You'll be like, oh yeah, I just adjusted the pH of my stomach.
Right.
Okay. Let's see here. We saw this one already. He ordered a 6-pack of Synthogen. That's very kind. Thank you. Let's see here. We have other questions. I'm looking now. Any tips for speed work? I was told 40 to 50% of my 1 rep max and 10 sets of 2 with 30 seconds rest in between. Thanks for the show. You think it has to be that sophisticated, speed work?
Sophisticated?
I mean that with that, I should say that regimented. Can't I just take 50% of my 1 rep max and go to failure with it, and then rest for a while, and then do it again, and just really rep out fast? Isn't that what it's all about?
No, failure is actually detrimental on speed work, because if you think about it, with every rep that goes by, you're losing speed. And so when Louis Simmons and Westside Barbell prescribe speed work, it'll typically be, for the bench press, 10 sets of 3 reps, moving that barbell as fast as possible with a weight if you're using just barbell weight, 50 to 55%. If, on the other hand, you're going to use bands, which I would encourage bands are very tough on the body. Don't use them for more than 3 weeks. But let's say every 3 weeks, you do 40% plus double up mini band tension. 10 sets of 3, 30 to 45 seconds in between. The 10 to 12 sets of 2 reps recommendation is for both squatting and deadlifting, and 45 seconds in between sets is the suggested rest period. So speed work seems to have fallen out of favor at Westside, at least the last that I knew. That isn't to say they don't perform it, but in the past, the Westside template was a 4-day template, and 2 of those days were speed days. Right? You had max effort days, 2 max effort days, 2 speed days. And the repetition method was used, at least last I knew, on max effort day. So the bottom line is this: experiment, do what works for you. Do what works for you. I will say, in the past, I have found training light to be completely useless unless you are focusing on speed work and moving the barbell faster. because that's a skill. And like all skills, it's perishable if you don't practice it.
That question, by the way, was from Brandon Bick. For those of you who are listening to the podcast, Dean Paulson says he eats sardines and herring daily. In your personal experience, do you think that covers my omega-3 needs? Probably 3 to 4 grams of complete omega-3s a day. I think it's good, but here's what we learned. I was trying to find it. There's a blog post by Alex Leaf on my website, superhumanradio.net, where he shows that eating bolus doses irregularly is better for omega-3 concentrations in fat. And when you eat the same dose, say, every day. So I've talked on this show about the principles of abundance and scarcity and how the body changes. When something is abundant, the body doesn't feel it's as precious. When something is scarce, the body feels it's precious. When the body feels something is precious, it puts it to better use. So taking that 3 to 4 grams of sardine omega-3s every day, the body is more likely to burn those omega-3s and oxidize them for energy than to store them in fat cells to be used later on to quench inflammation. Alex Leaf wrote about this. There's studies that show this. You're better off eating 3 times that dose, 3 different days, Monday, Thursday, Saturday. That the body goes, oh, we don't get this every day. We need to keep it around. When the body gets the same things day in and day out, it's reckless with them. Oh, we don't need this for that. We'll have more tomorrow. And I know that's oversimplification, but it's proven in science. And if I can find the blog post, I tried just now, but there's so many blogs on the website. I'll post it on Facebook.
One other thing that it's good for, at least with the herring, creatine. Herring is one of the richest forms of naturally occurring creatine. So, and to your point about, infrequent heavy doses may be better than a little bit every day. Dr. Paul Cribb, he used to work for AST Sports Science.
Yep, I remember him.
He has written some very good articles about how to load creatine 3 days on, 3 days off, 3 days on, 3 days off. And, I don't know if he has a creatine product to sell right now. Last I knew he didn't. But the science behind that and the common sense to me was very compelling. So I would tell you maybe next time, if you do want to run creatine, try it that way. You may do better. And certainly if you're eating herring, consider it. Consider it.
Dean Paulson says, do you think artificial sweeteners and diet sodas mess with insulin response on a small amount, 1 or 2 diet sodas per day? Go ahead, you go first.
First thoughts are, I wouldn't consider 1 or 2 diet sodas a day small. And maybe that's just me because I don't drink them at all. But I think when it comes to artificial sweeteners in general, this is a quirk, I think, of biology, which is to say, I think artificial sweeteners don't cause problems in some people, and they cause big problems in other people. The other thing that I would have of concern are the studies showing artificial sweeteners, make you hungrier, right, than not, and actually contribute to obesity. So I think you need to balance all of those things. Look at aspartame, right? What's the warning?
Phenylalanine.
Yeah, right. There are some people which metabolize phenylalanine no problem. In others, they don't, and that leads to big problems. So, I wish there was a diagnostic I could give you to say, here, it's good for you or it's bad for you. But unfortunately, at least to my knowledge, it's still trial and error.
So Craig Hollander says, although downplayed, many people get extreme muscle cramping from creatine monohydrate. Then I would argue it's the size of the dose they're taking at that time. Because every piece of beef, every piece of tuna, every piece of pork, every piece of animal flesh has creatine in it. And if creatine in and of itself caused muscle cramping, then people would suffer from muscle cramps if they're on the carnivore diet. And we don't see that. So I would say that's probably because of the size of the dose they're taking. I've taken creatine monohydrate for decades. I take periods off. I'm off right now, but I'm actually thinking about ordering some today. I know people who've taken creatine for decades, and we've never gotten muscle cramps from it. Some of us tolerate it better, but I think that some people who don't tolerate it, it's not the creatine monohydrate form that's causing it. It's the size of the dose that they're taking.
Yeah, that's good common sense advice. If you do that and you still have problems, obviously look at mineral intake. And if you still have problems beyond that, try taking it with some glycerin, right? Because we know glycerin can draw muscle or water rather into the muscle. And it's doing it by taking the water from under the skin and bringing it into the muscle. So, changing water balance is not a small deal, right? The body's mostly water.
That's it. That causes cramping as well. It's not just the lack of minerals. It's the dehydration of the muscle too, which actually is part of the ratios of the minerals and in the muscle. Dean Paulson, I'm laughing because he said all of Carl's theories are good apart from the roadkill theory. So those of you who don't know my roadkill theory, we see dead squirrels, we see dead deer laying on the roads more frequently during the mating season because the does are being chased by the bucks, and so they're running out into the road. But most of the time, it's the male animals that are getting slaughtered by cars because they're so sexually pent up that they just want to fire off a couple shots, that they're not paying attention and running across the road and getting hit. And
right.
So I guess I want to say that Dean posted one day on the show that one of his neighbors was looking at him odd because there was a dead animal on the road and he was opening its legs to see if it had testicles and a penis to validate, and he said it did, in fact. And so he said, my neighbors think I'm crazy now because I'm prying the legs open of dead animals in the street to see what their genitalia looks like. But it's true. I'm telling you, I'm convinced of it. And then, of course, thanks to the feedback on Crealkaline from Horned Frog. Good to hear, since I take Creanabolin from the same website that sells Synthogen. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's a it uses the same full spectrum Raponticum that Synthogen does, but combines it instead with Crealkaline and I think 4-hydroxyisoleucine and something else I can't recall. But it's per cap, it contains the most Raponticum of any product that I'm aware of.
Really? Wow.
Synthogen is close, but Creanabolin is still the highest.
All right, we're going to take a quick commercial break, and we have a really interesting blueprint tip of the day. So stick around. We'll be right back. I would easily say that I am the hugest proponent you will ever meet to doing anything that will improve the quality of my sleep. And that's because sleep is linked to just about every metabolic disorder we see in our population today. One of the easiest things you can do to improve the quality of your sleep is to get a pillow that can be shaped into the exact form factor that allows you to get your best night's sleep. And that is MyPillow. I've been sleeping with MyPillow for a few years now, and I can tell you that when I have to travel and stay in hotels, I don't get a good night's sleep because I don't have MyPillow with me. Right now, you can save up to 60% off of everything offered to improve the quality of your sleep at shrnetwork.biz/mypillow when you use the code SHR. Or you can call toll-free 800-889-4938. And remember to use code SHR to save up to 60% off of everything at their website. Adrenaline. Every day, there's a new wellness trend. Eat that, do this, avoid those. How do you know where to start or who to trust? Inside Tracker helps you cut through the noise by analyzing your blood, your DNA, your lifestyle, and your fitness tracker to provide you with a science-backed, trackable action plan on how to live, age, and perform better. Personalized, one-size-fits-one recommendations to help you optimize you. For a limited time, Inside Tracker is offering Superhuman Radio listeners 25% off the entire store. Go to shrnetwork.biz/ inside tracker, INSIDETRACKER, to save 25% off. Change begins on the inside. Have you been struggling to achieve results in the gym? Trouble sleeping through the night? Overwhelmed with stress or anxiety? Look no further than Infiniwell supplements. They have designed products to address specific needs like muscle growth, hormone balance, sleep, and anxiety from the first use. Infiniwell helps you live well. Go to shrnetwork.biz/bewell, that's BEWELL, and use code SHR20 and start living well today. Being superhuman means being conscientious about the choices we make. White Oak Pastures is superhuman when it comes to raising livestock. They're committed to animal welfare, land regeneration, and rural revival. They responsibly manage the entire process from the pasture to your doorstep. High-quality, pasture-raised, great-tasting meat from a farm you can trust. Full nose-to-tail selections. They even have options for your pet. Go to shrnetwork.biz/whiteoak and use the code SUPERHUMAN to save 10% off your entire first order. I want to introduce you to Towel Patch, a heavily researched, patented wearable device that provides immediate and long-lasting health benefits. Towel Patch's nanocrystals convert your body heat into light of specific therapeutic frequencies that optimize your central nervous system. The health benefits of Towel Patch include relief from chronic pain, better sleep, increased focus, reduced stress, improved athletic performance, and more. Discover what it can do for you by visiting shrnetwork.biz/towelpatch. That's TAOPATCH. Use code SHR for your superhuman discount today.
New Mass Pro Synthogen X2 just upped its own legendary game. To distance itself even further from the rest of the pack, Synthogen X2 now has double the key active ingredients. If you've ever wondered what steroid-like recovery feels like, Synthogen X2 delivers. See why others compare it favorably to powerful bodybuilding drugs at synthogen.com. Mass Pro Synthogen. When you train with it, you'll gain with it.
You're listening to the Superhuman Channel. We're ripped and we're ready.
Welcome back. So real quick, this comment came after Tommy D said Creanabolin also has L-Dopa, solid product.
Right.
And then Robert Thompson, we're going to have to answer this question next show, hypothyroidism and Hashimoto's, because it's a very broad question. I'm not sure if you want to know what to do about it or what supplements, but we'll get to this next show, I promise. Okay, what is the blueprint tip of the day, bro?
Tip of the day is about prophetic words about ecdysterone. So it was 2 years or so ago. I really got into it with some guy concerning the ecdy study, which found even low doses very effective for building muscle. That was funded by WADA, nonetheless. And at the time, he called it bogus and essentially said ecdy had no value, and then went on to accuse me of being a snake oil salesman because I had an ecdy product, which just so happened to be out of stock at the moment and went on for at least a month. So I'm not quite sure how I was using that to sell ecdysterone, but be that as it may, I have stated many times, right, that there's research going on all over the world on this family of compounds. And so recently another doubting Thomas wrote to me and to basically say that I was lying. He said it in a nice way, but that's essentially what he said. So I thought I'd bring you up to speed on the latest, at least concerning what scientists are doing now with this quote unquote bogus compound that has no value. Where to begin? The following clinical studies have been or are already ongoing in humans. Sexual disadaptation found improvement in libido and sexual activity in 75% of the patients. Chronic kidney function or lack thereof found an improvement of kidney function and microcirculation. Another study on sexual function improved sperm quality and copulative function in patients with disturbed spermatogenesis. Also, improvement in sexual function during recovery from myocardial infarction. Another study, giardiasis, if that's how you pronounce it, parasite elimination in 68.7% of patients. Hepatitis, improvement in liver function in the case of hepatitis B. Lambliasis, therapy eliminated most parasites in 10 days. Something called heminolipisis, reduction in symptoms and parasitological efficiency of 36.4%. Metabolic syndrome, reduction in body weight, 1.3%. Waist circumference, 3.2%. Body fat, 7.6%. C-reactive protein, 38%. Total cholesterol, 17%. Triglycerides, 37%. Muscle increase, 2.9%. Menopausal disorders, prevention of metabolic syndrome and osteoporosis. Reduction in body weight, reduction in plasma cholesterol and C-reactive protein. Now being proposed in some cases for hormone replacement therapy. There is also, the following trials are ongoing. Sarcopenia trial, another metabolic syndrome trial, and a pre-diabetes trial. Another one, last one that you may be real interested in, I know I was, ongoing study of COVID-19 infection. The expected outcome is the prevention of respiratory deterioration in severe COVID-19 patients. So this isn't like, giving a little extra vitamin C to people with mild symptoms. They're waiting until they're at a very advanced stage in the disease, and they are expecting benefits based on the early results in other studies. If you are still a doubting Thomas, you can read more about all of that in the paper entitled 20-hydroxyecdysterone from Plant Extracts to Clinical Use, Therapeutic Potential for the Treatment of Neuromuscular, Cardiometabolic, and Respiratory Diseases, that was published April 29th of this year in the French journal Biomedicines. René Lafont and Laurence Denon, two very famous ecdysterone researchers, are the primary authors, amongst others. So you see, my friends, when I tell you there's ecdy research going on by multiple scientists for multiple uses in multiple countries and on multiple continents, it's for real. The notion put forth by some that this is some grand ecdy conspiracy to make it look better than it really is laughable. You tell that to Biophytus Pharmaceuticals, who's developing a new drug called sarcoidosis, aka Bio 101. It's an immediate release, oral 20-hydroxyecdysterone, 97% purity. I'm sure the tens of millions of dollars that they're spending to create this drug is just for yucks, that it really doesn't work, right? So here you go. Here's some more money to burn. Make us look bad in the studies. Our investors really like to see that kind of stuff. Yeah. It boggles my mind. No company is going to put that kind of money and investment into a product that they think is going to fail, or that they're going to try to make look like it works and the whole rest of the world know it doesn't. No, it's just not happening. Finally, if you go to their homepage at biophytis.com, biophytis.com, you will see where they say that ecdy works through the PI3K, AKT, mTOR pathway that's often referenced. It increases protein synthesis, preserves muscle mass, and increases muscle strength. Bear in mind, that's just for the sarcopenia medication that they are working on for that application. There are plenty of others. With respect to that pathway and ecdy working through it, before it was ever known, I wrote the same thing in 2009 when I first published the blueprint. It's all there for the world to see. I also wrote the following. Someday, ecdysterone will be found to have as many benefits to human health as fish oil, maybe more. folks, I would tell you that based upon what I just read to you and the studies that I have seen, all of this and more, we are well on our way. Whether that happens in my lifetime or not, I'm not sure. I think certainly it does happen in my son's lifetime. And it's just a matter of time before the general public learns the name ecdysterone and what it does. You can argue all day about which one to use for what, but it's coming. And someday I think you're going to see it in Costco and Walmart and maybe even at your local drugstore.
And it's got a sexy name that sounds like steroids.
Yeah, sort of.
Steroid.
20 hydroxyecdysterone does pique people's attention. They're like, wait, steroid, what?
Yeah, what is that? So if you had to say one brand, nothing but 20 hydroxyecdysterone, what's the brand to go? Because yours is a blend, right? You've got lots of things in yours. If I just wanted to take 3 grams of ecdy a day, let's say, I don't even know if that's a sensible dose. What would I get?
There is only one product that I would feel comfortable recommending. It's not a product. You can get it off eBay. Vemo Herbs.
VEMO?
VEMO. Vemo is a company that is cited in Bulgaria, I believe. And early on, they specialized in tribulus, and they, in fact, have a tribulus product. Their ecdy product, the name of it, if I'm not mistaken, is very simply ecdysterone. Now, having said all that, I have long said that, at least for the applications of building muscle, 20 hydroxyecdysterone is not optimal. Clearly, this company, at least, Biophytus, thinks otherwise if they're developing it for sarcopenia. Whether they ultimately find the same that I did or not remains to be determined. But that would be the one to answer your question.
So I'm looking at Vemo now.
Yeah.
And 2 capsules is 490 milligrams. You think that's an effective dose?
Yeah, because most people, if it's just 20 hydroxy they're going to use, and if I'm not mistaken, that's a 95% product.
Yeah, 95% beta ecdysterone is all it says. It doesn't say 25 hydroxy, nothing like that.
Yeah, they're going to need between half and 2 and 4 capsules a day. So between half and 1 gram.
It's not cheap. Not cheap.
No,
36 euro, and you know our dollar is tanking thanks to the current administration. So that's probably like $45-50 a bottle.
And but think about that. That's also a tip off that it's a quality product.
Yeah.
I mean, if they're telling you, hey, here's a 95% ecdysterone, $10, $15, whatever. No, it can't be done for that. I'm sorry, but you'll find those types of products out there.
Yeah, they'll take your money, but you're buying nothing.
You're buying a whole bunch of nothing. And whatever you do, please do not buy a product that's sourced from Cyanotus vaga or Cyanotus arachnoids, which I notice they are using more so now.
This is Louisa?
Louisa is another word for Raponticum carthamoids extract.
Mm-hmm. And it does say that. It says Louisa carthamoids. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's the same plant. They're just standardizing it for one particular ecdysterone, 20 hydroxy, and whereas we use a full spectrum extract.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
But you know, the point stands. This is not flim flam bunk. You can argue whether or not it's as effective as you want it to be, or it's good for this.
And most people's expectations are way, way, way outlandish. You know what I mean? Right. Most people expect it to happen overnight, 10 pounds of muscle overnight, and it's never happens.
No, this is not Dianabol. Okay.
And the truth is, I could buy Dianabol cheaper, but it's not good for my liver.
Yeah, or you might have other concerns. But the bottom line is a high quality ecdysterone. There's no question in my mind. I've believed this for 35 to 40 years. A high-quality ecdysterone makes the muscle-building process easier. No question about it. The research is finally catching up with what I had said long ago, and I think you're just going to see it snowball. There's going to be more and more and more.
Very exciting. Very exciting.
Yeah, it's pretty cool stuff. Even I was shocked at the number of things that it's being used for. It's astounding. But it also, the way it works, that perfectly explains it, because it's never had just one and only one, effect. There is a cascade effect due to the mechanisms by which it works.
Interesting. Very, very cool. Rob, thank you very much for today's show.
You
Thank
bet.
everybody out there who participated live. You bring the flavor. I appreciate that. Appreciate all your questions and interactions. We won't have a show next week because I will just be getting back from California. I'm going to Napa. My niece is getting married. Cool. Anybody in the Napa Valley area of California, if you want to meet up, message me on Facebook, assuming it doesn't go down again. And we have a show tomorrow, but that's the last show of the week. And the rest of the week, I'm gone until Wednesday of next week. So please share the show. There's lots of good information in here that can help a lot of people.
Yep.
Share the show. You'll be helping them. And we'll see you later. Thanks for everything. And see you later. Bye-bye.
Thanks.